I'm gonna double check that. But before we get into our MLB playoff,
Yep, I'm right.
spectacular. You right?
I am right.
So winner will play the Angels. I do want to bring up this one piece of news. It's hard to compress a week's worth of sports into a 2-hour sports show. Maybe we can start a fan campaign to keep us on longer. We can go 2 nights a week. So yeah. So if you have any requests to have us on longer, send all your emails to SpiderGlenCompton. So it's spiderglen@hotmail.com. Request that we are on for longer than 2 hours a week. So, do us a favor. Yeah, take good care of it. Yeah. So, with that being said, I do want to bring this up. I'm really appalled by this one thing. As I had mentioned in the 2040 Sports Update, Dennis Allen, the head coach of the Raiders, is gone. He has been fired by the team after an 0-4 start, which is, 0-4, it's nothing to write home about. It's nothing to brag about. It's everything to cry about. Yeah. So I'm just very appalled by the Oakland Raiders over the last 15 years. They're another team that's in the 15 club. I can think about, so here's my 15 club. You got the Raiders. You got the Bills. You got the Redskins, and you got, I said the Redskins, right?
Yeah. The Browns you're thinking of?
The Browns, that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So they're a team that's always going to be in limbo because they can't set in stone who is in charge, who's going to run the offense, who the coaches are, and the Raiders are probably the worst out of the 4. The Browns look to be pulling themselves out of it. The Bills appear to be pulling themselves out of it until they benched E.J. Manuel, which I totally disagree with, but that's my opinion. The Redskins are kind of struggling right now. They're trying to get over that hump. They can try to, but they're doing the best they can. The Raiders seem like they always hit the reset button on the track to rebuilding the team.
I think there's one more team you might have forgot too, Dan. They were good. After the coach left, they were bad. The Buccaneers. I put them in that list too.
You talking about Gruden?
Yeah, after Gruden, they just fell apart.
Gruden. And actually, Gruden's name came up in the Raiders head coaching.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But, that might be some bad blood that... but they'll discuss it. But they'll obviously put in an interim head coach for the rest of the season, and then maybe field offers from elsewhere to find a new head coach. But this is the one thing I'm appalled at. Okay, the Raiders general manager since 2012. Before that, the general manager was Al Davis. He passed away in 2011. Reggie McKenzie became the Raiders general manager after a long stint with the Packers in the front office. So it was McKenzie's first order of business to hire Dennis Allen as the head coach. So he came in 2012, Dennis Allen. 2012, the team went 4-12. 2013, the team went 4-12. This year, they started 0-4. Oh. So he finally gets the idea that he's not turning the team around, so he fires him. Amidst all the roster changes they've made, Derek Carr is the #1 quarterback. MJD, Maurice Jones-Drew, is as one of the running backs now to complement Darren McFadden's productivity. And I can't even think of any other players because they've all been absent from the team with this 0-4 start. But the one thing I'm annoyed at, this is Reggie McKenzie's fault all the way. Because before McKenzie came to take the job, the head coach of the Raiders was Hugh Jackson. He was the offensive coordinator in 2010. 2011, he became promoted as the head coach after Tom Cable was fired. In that one 2011 season, Hugh Jackson took the team to an 8-8 record.
That's a great...
For the Raiders, an 8-8 record in your first year as head coach. That's a damn good job.
That's a great job.
And you know what? But towards the end of the season, they kind of fell because they were at 7-4, and then they dropped to 8-8. So you could have thought, okay, 2012, they're going to turn it around. Hugh Jackson's going to work out the kinks, bring in some new people. Maybe they can get a playoff spot or at least 500 or better. No. Okay. Unfortunately, Al Davis dies during Hugh Jackson's reign as head coach. So they find a new general manager in Reggie McKenzie. Reggie McKenzie, with the stroke of a pen, goes, okay, Hugh, you're great, but I have another guy who's going to come in, a young guy named Dennis Allen. He's going to try to take over the team and try to turn them into a winner. So Hugh Jackson gets jettisoned. He is pushed out the front door by the Raiders after all the hard work he put in after an 8-8 record. Dennis Allen comes in, makes the team instantly worse. 4-12.
Huh.
He never got better than 4-12. In fact, he stayed at 4-12 throughout his whole reign there. If he had continued the season, it probably would have been worse. 0-4, you figure the Raiders not doing too well. 4-12, if not 2-14. So this disaster over the last 3 years is due in part to not only the owners, maybe probably involving themselves in the action, but Reggie McKenzie, the general manager of the Raiders. This is his fault all the way. And the fact that he still has a job and Dennis Allen is out. So if Reggie McKenzie doesn't get his SH together and find a decent head coach to turn around this 0-4 season, if the Raiders, if they want to see a marked improvement from the start of the season, they got to go 6-10. They got to go 5-5 down the stretch.
Yep.
Okay, that's an improvement. Anything better than 4-12 is an improvement, but it is Reggie McKenzie's fault all the damn way that this team has fallen through the cracks. Because he had an 8-8 team. You don't understand, Drizzle. 8-8 team with this new head coach, Hugh Jackson, who, from what I understood, was completely passionate about the Raiders' legacy and history.
He was a Raider, wasn't he?
You can look that up. But with that being said, I remember the game after Al Davis died. They were playing the Texans, and the Raiders came out and won that game in honor of Al Davis. And after the game was over, you saw Hugh Jackson down on one knee in tears, paying his respects to Al Davis. He was so emotionally distraught, not distraught, but so emotionally caught up in the moment that he won the game in honor of Al Davis. And to see that kind of passion just flowing out of a head coach, that's the kind of character of a head coach that I want on my team. If I ran a team, that would be my head coach. But no, Reggie McKenzie came in from Green Bay with all the success Green Bay has had over the years, showed off his big guns, and with the stroke of a pen, dismissed Hugh Jackson as head coach and hired Dennis Allen under his own militia, and the team fell apart. So Reggie McKenzie is at fault for this. The fact that the Raiders have not wised up and fired him is really what's going to be the straw that broke the camel's back for this season. Because you know what? The Davises like McKenzie. He was suggested to the organization by the likes of Mark Davis, Al Davis's son, John Madden. John Madden even suggested Reggie McKenzie for this job.
Good old John Madden.
Good old John Madden. But you know what? 4-12 does not spell victory.
No.
Okay, I remember when the Giants went 4-12 in 2003. I hated being a Giants fan.
I don't blame you.
4-12 is nothing. That's worse. That is top 5 draft worthy.
That's like my team every year as a Giants fan. They're pretty bad.
Yeah, but you have Jake Locker out, so that might be a detriment to the season.
That means tank the season and get Jameis Winston. That's the goal.
That's the goal, Jameis Winston. But you understand what I'm saying here, Dan?
I do.
You come into a job. Okay, like say you took over the radio station. Okay? The radio station here at WNTI is a great facility, wink, wink. And let's say you walked in with your big guns. You came from, let's say you came from Z100 to come to this radio station. And you tried to, and you thought you could make this station better. You had no recollection how well the station has been doing as a public radio station here. It makes a lot of money. It does make its money. In fact, they have the pledge drive coming up on Friday.
Yes.
For the station. And they actually make some good money.
Really does.
To keep people working here and to keep us students on the air.
Definitely. Great listeners too. So thank all listeners
let's say you come in with your big guns from Z100 and you think you can make the station just as good as Z100 listener-wise. You want to have the same ratings as Z100. So you come in here, you show off your big guns. With a stroke of a pen, you fire Spider Glenn Compton. You fire Johnny D. You fire Dan the Cable Man, the World Music Show. What if the radio station falls apart? Do you feel at fault for that?
I'd be really sad.
You'd be very sad, but you'd probably lose your job.
Yeah.
Okay?
It'd be clean house.
You showed off your big guns and tried to turn around the radio station. Okay? You put people out of work who were doing a good job. Now, they're going to resent you for that. And now that the radio station has been suffering, people are going to hate you for that. Listeners are going to hate you and hold you accountable. And the listeners here are the Raiders fans. They're going to hold Reggie McKenzie on a noose in effigy if he doesn't turn this around. If this is going to be a 1-15 season, 2-14 season, he will be gone.
Easily.
So, anyway, now that I've done venting, speaking of Oakland, right now the score in the bottom of the ninth is 7-6 Oakland, 1 out. And looks like